All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure, actually, to give the first talk in the operations. I think this is where we start to think about how we're actually going to achieve all of the great science that you guys have been talking about this week. So as Christine said, my name's Shari Breen. I'm Head of Science Operations at SKAO, so not surprisingly giving a talk on science operations. I work at headquarters in the UK. So just gonna, where do I have to point it? All right. Okay, so when I started putting together the slides for this talk, it really became clear that there was much more information that I wanted to give you that I could ever reasonably fit in a 20-minute talk slot. So I've had to leave a few things out, but hopefully they're covered in other ways. So this is an outline of my talk. I'm going to first start off with the highlights of the operational model. So some of the things that have come up this week that I thought was worth clarifying, and then just some of the things that I think are important as well. Then I'm going to talk just very briefly on user-facing tools, when you might expect some of that. Then the all-important question, when will you see your first data? When will the community be able to get involved with the SKA and actually play with some data? And then finish out just with who we are, as in who the science operations team is, and what is our highest priority output for this year. So the things in the grey are stuff that I won't be able to talk much about. So that's the telescope specs and performance, although I do have a bunch of slides at the end of this talk, so if the slides are shared, you'll be able to look at it, and also the SKA regional centres, and rather leave that for McKeel to talk about later this morning. All right, so this is the start of my science operations overview. In the top left box is the absolute basics that hopefully you remember from Phil's talk on Monday. The SKA will comprise of two telescopes, so SKA Low in Australia and SKA Mid in South Africa. With these two telescopes, we're able to cover frequency ranges from 50 megahertz up to 15.3 gigahertz with various bandwidths depending on what telescope or what receiver you're looking at. So from 300 megahertz up to 2 by 2.5 gigahertz at the highest frequency range. Then if we head down to the bottom left-hand corner, we see that both imaging and non-imaging modes are supported on the SKA. So I cheated, and I have blown this one up and snuck several, is it that one? Sorry. There are two different remotes. And put much more information on this slide, which I'm not going to go through, but I did just want to show you some more of the details about the imaging and non-imaging modes. So in continuum or broadband mode, we have native resolutions from 5.4 kilohertz at low to 13.4 kilohertz at mid. In broadband continuum mode, we get autocorrelations, full Stokes, we have varying time resolutions, and we can do fast imaging in this mode as well. We will do spectral or zoom mode observations, which are really important to people like me who love mazes. And we can get quite good spectral resolution from both mid and low. So from 0.21 kilohertz at mid and 14.1 hertz at low. And there is corresponding bandwidths for those modes. We can also do pulsar and transient search, as well as pulsar timing. And rather than go into much of the detail in that, I'm going to refer you to Lena's poster, which is over there. Hopefully you saw her sparkler talk, I don't know, yesterday or the day before. We can also do VLBI, which I think is going to be a great step forward. SKA will be the most sensitive element, which really opens up some of the science that can be done at very high spatial resolution. So our correlated beamformers are very flexible, but we're ultimately resource limited. So exactly what you can do in what combinations comes down to resource limitations. And no mode is free. So I've heard people talk, for example, at this meeting about doing PSS for transient searches all of the time. That doesn't come for free. This one works much better because it's the actual one. So now in the top right-hand corner, subarrays. We can observe in up to 16 subarrays simultaneously. Although we do expect that many of the SKA observations will require the sensitivity of the SKA, and so therefore will need the full array. We will be offering subarray templates to the user community. You won't just come along and say, I want to observe with these 8 antennas. You'll say, I want to use this subarray template. The good news is that those templates are defined by scientific needs, and we're engaging with the science working groups right now to make sure that the first draft of those subarray templates, at least broadly, are meeting the needs, but we'll update them as we go. Commensality is supported, so we define 3 types of commensality: data, observing, and multiplexed. What those mean is I might want to look at some galaxy in continuum, and so might someone else with a different science goal, so they can both use that data product. Observing is where you might be looking at the same thing, but wanting a slightly different output. And multiplexed is that kind of subarraying mode where you want to use a different part of the system. Okay, I cheated and put just 3 random things in the top left box. So observers will request time, not sensitivity. Calibration is an observatory responsibility. So that means that if you have observations that you want to do, you no longer have to say, I want this bandpass calibrator or I want this primary flux calibrator. We will do that for you, although we will allow bespoke calibration if there's, for some reason, our observatory calibration doesn't work for you. A very important one in the bottom left-hand corner, down here, data products are requested at the proposal stage, and we're not expecting to deliver visibilities very often. So what this means is our science data processor is a very important part of our overall telescope system and is schedulable just like the telescopes. We will have strict QAs in place, so you don't need to be worried. I know that that's a hard thing to say to an astronomer. Don't worry, we'll reduce your data and it's going to be okay. But it will. Those strict QAs will be in place to make sure that you get what you need. Phil touched on a little bit about the time allocation process in his talk on Monday, and I do want to talk about that a little bit more, and I have a slide on it. I do just want to point out that no time has been allocated yet. I hear this impression quite a lot from the community that KSPs have already been decided and they're coming out of the science working groups. That's not the case. No time has been allocated yet. And although they may end up coming out of the science working groups, I did just want to make sure that that point was highlighted. Down in the bottom right, yes, the SRC net is a critical part of us being able to deliver on our overall goals. This is where data product delivery will happen, where we will store SKA data for future use, where you might expect to get some user support and do your scientific analysis, so the compute required for that. The overall system is going to be complex, right? When you consider the SKA telescopes and the SRC net, we're going to do our very best to hide all of this from you. There will be one help desk for you to come to that will be staffed by both SKA and SRC net staff. You will have one login. All of those kinds of principles are really important to us. Okay, so the types of proposals and projects. We have our key science projects. They are the ones that require a significant amount of resource, both in terms of telescope time and associated compute. The traditional principal investigator projects, which you know well. We'll also have directed general discretionary time, and these projects can be categorised according to many other attributes. So target of opportunity, of course, will be possible. We'll do long-term projects, joint SKA projects. Maybe you want both mid and low observations to fulfil your science goal, and coordinated projects. So you can think that VLBI is a prime example of this. But also, many of you might have known about a meeting that was held with ESO just recently where the community discussed what they might want in terms of ESO SKA projects to fulfil their science needs. So the operational model in brief, just wanted to step you through this. I would refer you to our OEDP, so our Observatory Establishment and Delivery Plan for further information. It's available on our public website and the link is on this slide. We also have a data product document, which I'm very happy to share with you at any stage if you would like. So a user is going to request telescope time and data products. As I said, SDP is a very important part of our overall system. At these early stages, you would also be thinking about what you wanted in terms of resources from the SRC network. So in order for you to do that, we're going to have to provide you with all the tools that allow that to be possible. I've already shown you that bit. In this case, your observations, your request was successful. You're observing with MID. The data taken will sit on SDP for up to 2 weeks to create what we call observation level data products. Once those data products have passed QA, all of the raw data will be deleted and the observation level data product will be queued for delivery to the SRC net. Perhaps instead you wanted a project level data product, and what a project level data product means is, say you wanted a 200-hour observation of your favourite galaxy. We can't observe that all in one go, so your project level data product would be the combination of those data products to get you up to that integration time. Then you would play on the SRC net, you do all your visualization, analysis, create your advanced data products, and hopefully there'll be a range of workflow templates to allow you to do that very easily. And then the data are made public at some point when the proprietary period ends, which is still TBD. There is no user interaction with the SDP, except for when there is. So you can expect a situation where, or we can expect a situation where you're going to embark on a large project. You're not really sure for some reason what sort of parameters you might need in your SDP pipelines. So we may deliver a small amount of the visibility data along with the data product to allow you to iterate and make sure that you get what you need to do your science. So user-facing tools, again, I'm going to rely heavily on the poster by Adam Avison to give you more detail about the Observatory Science Operations software suite. But I did just want to tell you about the sensitivity calculators and when you might expect those. So the development is well underway at the moment, and I was actually really hoping to be able to give you the low calculator at this meeting. We're still a couple of weeks off, unfortunately, but you can expect that soon. At the moment, we're at a stage where we pretty much have low and mid sorted for continuum and spectral line. And one of the things that we've been working on just recently is going from a mid front end that looked like this to a low front end that looks like this. We're going to refactor mid to be the same because we're really committed to accessibility. We want to make sure the broadest possible user community can use our tools. When will you see data? This is probably the question that many people have and are interested in the answer to. So science verification is the opportunity that scientists really have to get involved with our system. This is when we start doing a full end-to-end test. It will start with the submission of ideas from the community, so your favourite source, and go through the full stage of quality assurance and data delivery. We need to answer the question, does the system meet the needs of the science and operational user? So does it meet the needs of you and me? So this is the stages that we'll go through. We'll issue a call to the community for verification ideas using specific modes and capabilities. And we may support these calls with workshops to make sure you understand the system that we're using. There'll be a short description of the idea submitted by the astronomers, by you. We'll do a light touch assessment just to make sure that the ideas that you provide test all the parts of the system that we need, so that the set of that pool of ideas covers everything that we need. They'll be observed, data products will be created using the SDP, and we'll include that QA. I don't know how many times I've said that now, but I hope that message is getting through. All the data products will be delivered publicly, so all of you will have an opportunity to use them. Following an announcement, visibilities are probable at this stage, so this is a stage where hopefully we can build trust within the community. We'll give you what SDP does, we'll give you the visibilities and see if you can do any better. The report generated will be used then to assess that observing mode, and that's really importantly supported by you, the community, who knows your sources the best. I probably don't have to mention this, but science verification is really important. It's important to allow us to demonstrate the potential of the SKA, important for the early science return, but also extremely important for us to make sure that we're prepared for full operations. So this is a very pinked version of the stage delivery timeline that Phil showed you on Monday, and I just wanted to show you where science verification and the call for cycle 0 will happen in this context. So science verification we expect from mid-2026 towards the end of AA2. This is when the system will be at least as good or possibly better than other telescopes that exist. And we expect the call for cycle 0 proposals about 6 months before the end of AA star. Then we'd expect cycle 0, so that's the shared risk observations, to begin. On the conclusion of AA star, these will be proper SKA projects but come with all the caveats that shared risk have: full proposal, assessment, all of the data delivery, data analysis, visualization that you'd expect. But we do also anticipate having to be commissioning and doing science verification on other modes that haven't quite made it through yet, also during this time. So who are we and what are we doing this year? I only have one slide on our number one priority, so hopefully it won't be too long. So science operations is who you see in this pink box. You might not be able to see the faces very clearly, but the thing I wanted to highlight, there's two things I wanted to highlight. Science operations is spread across GHQ, mid in South Africa and low in Australia. And so on this side, that's me, and Tom and Sarvesh, who are operations scientists. Tom is actually here. At low, we have Jimmy Green, who is also here, many of you will know. At mid, we have no one at the moment, but we're hoping to fill that box in very quickly, very soon. I did do a head count, though, of what science operations gets to in the next few years, and terrifyingly, it's just over 50. So there will be many recruitments happening, so if you want to come and work for the SKA, please get in touch. So our number one priority is a year in the life. We are busily working away on creating 2 documents, one for mid and one for low, which go through quite a sophisticated and accurate representation of what we're expecting in terms of a year of observations. Those are very important to us in our planning, but hopefully will also give you, the community, a very good idea about what you can expect the SKA to do. So I'm just going to leave my summary up there because I can see my chair already coming at me. But thank you very much. Very happy to take questions now or in any of the breaks.
As somebody that loves target of opportunity stuff, the prospect of not getting image for 2 weeks is a little spooky. In case we want to know if there's a detection or something, is there any way to is there prioritization of how to get those types of products from you?
Yeah, so the flow through that I showed you was very definitely the general what can be expected brief overview point. There is the opportunity to prioritise things. It really depends on what your target of opportunity is as well, to how much compute resource it needs and how quickly we can get it through. But yeah, there are all those kinds of caveats that I would mention in a much longer talk.